this has been turned into, in relative short order, post-bye, a nightmare season. And this was the nightmare scenario of a nightmare season. And Pat had been dealing with a knee for weeks. He'd been on the injury report the last few weeks. The Chiefs' season were on the line. Even if it wasn't on the line, I don't think he would have missed games. He's the only time he's ever missed a game in his career was when his kneecap got dislocated and he missed 2 weeks. So he was going to play no matter what. But he's been week 1 of the season. We talked about, man, he's taking a lot of hits.
Yep.
He's running a lot. And I understand this is not an injury that feels like it's the accumulation of hits, but I don't think the accumulation of hits helped. Yeah. And so I also, talk a lot about the Brady-Mahomes career comps. And on Friday, I was on your pal, maybe now I can say our pal. You're a good pal and my somewhat pal. Bill Simmons' podcast and said, and I think I've said on this show before as well, that in year 7, Tom Brady walked onto the field in the Super Bowl trying to win ring 4, and if they won that game, they're the greatest team of all time. And in year 8, he blew out his knee. In year 7, Patrick Mahomes walked on the field in the Super Bowl trying to win ring 4, and if they win that game, they're the greatest team of all time. And on Friday I said, Patrick didn't blow out his knee, but it looks like the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs. Right. And now he has also blown out his knee. That I guess is a silver lining in that the best version of Tom Brady was post ACL. And, I don't want to reveal much of this here. I'm not sure it's just the ACL in his knee. And I have talked with Patrick in that he is, as the tweet illustrated, gutted, but optimistic that he will be back and as good, if not better than ever. But the only way this season going the way it did, the only silver lining was going to be Patrick got out of it healthy, and Patrick did not get out of it healthy and instead suffered a massive knee injury. It is what it is. I mean, let me say one other thing quickly. Sorry, Brew, I know I'm kind of rambling. Packer fans today might feel sicker because what Chiefs, this doesn't help Patrick, but what Chiefs fans have is this team didn't have it.
Yep.
They weren't 10-3 like, we were going to win the Super Bowl. That doesn't make I don't think that makes Patrick feel better. But if you're a Packer fan this morning, you might feel even worse, like you did have it. So it's pro football, man. There's injuries and it sucks, and that's part of it. This being the face of the league and one of the greatest players in the history of the league makes it all that much worse.
Well, look, I mean, my pick for the NFC is the Packers, and I'm going to stay on that pick. I still think they're a good team, but obviously without Micah, it's very much an uphill battle. So, we don't want to lose as we focus on Patrick. Obviously, another great player in the league was hurt too. But, we joke around a lot on the show, and I like the Chiefs. I love Mahomes. But I would have been looking forward to, if they were missing the playoffs and under normal circumstances, really, having some fun. But the way this went down, I mean, every football fan, I don't care if you're a Buffalo fan, a Ravens fan, whoever, you got to be sick with the way this happened, because not only is it the best player in the league, but I think what this highlights is some things about him that we don't talk about a lot, which is his toughness. Like you said, he was playing with a knee injury, all right? But you heard more, and I get it, Justin Herbert has surgery, but you heard more about his wrist. You heard more about Aaron Rodgers playing with the fracture. You heard more about Lamar, even though we weren't even sure what exactly it is with Lamar. We knew Mahomes had an injury, but I think because he has played through so many. He's played through turf toe. He played through the dislocated kneecap. Right. He's played through the high ankle sprain. We kind of we gotten used to him playing through it. And he was out there, man. His toughness, he was doing everything he could to just get this team in the playoffs. Everything he could. And we talked about it all year. The running that he usually saves for the playoffs, he was doing all season.
It's the only touchdown they scored yesterday.
Yeah, right. Scrambling in there. And so
getting lit up.
Him, and you mentioned it lit up. So the toughness is the first thing. I mean, of all the things people think about with Mahomes and his greatness, his toughness should not be, discarded. Sure. All right, that needs to be something thought about. Secondly, you mentioned him getting hit. So last year was his personal high in sacks with 36. This year he had 34 in 14 games. So he was likely going to break his personal high in sacks. So the last 2 years he's been taking way too many hits. This year, this according to Bill Barnwell, he's been hit 153 times. That's sacks and quarterback hits. Only player quarterback that's been hit more is Justin Herbert.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why I thought it was pretty gross that Nick kept kind of just making fun of Justin Herbert and the O-line, but now wants kind of like, hey, this is going to happen to Mahomes if he keeps getting hit. That's why you got to be consistent. Listen, I gave my whole immediate thoughts after Mahomes tore his ACL, and how sad it is and how much of a bummer it is and how nobody wants this and how I said going into this before, I was like, first things first is now not going to have as much fun as they wanted to originally. And that's what Brew just said, want to have some fun with the Chiefs. But now that Mahomes got injured, it feels wrong to do that, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there's a few distinctions that I really want to make here. One, and I'm going to save the best one for last. One, first off, it's not like the Chiefs missed the playoffs because Mahomes got injured. It's one thing if we really felt the Chiefs were about to win and make a run and whatnot, and then Mahomes got injured. Now you're like, now it's over because Mahomes got injured. Then yes, celebrating that they're not making the playoffs feels just inherently wrong, right? It doesn't really make sense. But this team was not good enough. They were not playing good enough. Patrick Mahomes was not playing good enough, and it's okay to say those things. I mean, we see this in real time when we watch a game, right? Tua looks like the guy may never wake up again. Mahomes tears his ACL. Micah goes down. I mean, we have all these guys going down, and the game literally goes on. The commentators go, "Oh, that was a really gruesome injury. We're not going to show you the replay. So and so carted off. You could tell he's emotional right now." But 2nd and 5 from the Packers 33. 21-20, let's go. And it's like it's never happened. That's just the way it works, unfortunately. And it's weird because it's not normal human behavior, especially when we become such fans of these players. We feel connected to them. We feel that they speak to us. They play for us. We wear their jerseys, their clothes. We wear clothing that has their names on our back, right? It's just crazy, right? It's you're wearing a shirt of someone else's name on your back. And so when they go down, you're just like, it crushes you. I remember when KD tore his Achilles in the playoffs. I almost cried because I was just like. And this was back when you felt like Achilles you were just done, right? It was just, you're never going to be the same. And it was just like, oh my God. And it was actually when the Warriors were going to now potentially three-peat and become, the greatest team in the history of the NBA. And it was just like, am I never going to see KD play great again? Is it over? And it was just like, I couldn't believe it. When Tyrese Halliburton blew out his Achilles and you see the agony and he patting the court, you're just slamming the court. I'm just I was so excited for Game 7. I didn't even want to watch Game 7. It felt wrong. Even if the Pacers ended up winning, I was like, this feels gross now. I was like, I don't even want to watch this. This is Game 7, NBA Finals. Let's go. And Halliburton goes down and you see the agony. I'm just like, I can't watch this. this feels awful. And I just was like, I watched it just because I had to get through it. And I was just like, all right, yep, they lost, all right, whatever. And I was like, I made a video about it, and I was like, okay, I'm done with the NBA right now. I was like, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm done. And Mahomes obviously having all of the energy, all of the support and hate, which just makes sense for sports. This is what I talked about yesterday. It's like you're rooting most likely for more. You're rooting against more teams and more players than you're rooting for. We see that just within the division. If you're a Chiefs fan, if you're a Mahomes fan, you are rooting against Bo Nix and the Broncos, Geno Smith and the Raiders, Justin Herbert and the Chargers. We see Nick do it all the time. And you're doing it as a fan as well. And it's something that I used to very much be part of, and that I've, really grateful that. And just naturally, I was like, why am I rooting against so many teams? Like, I don't know. I don't know who the Jacksonville Jaguars are. Like, I don't even know who the coach is. Why do I hate them for no reason? And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be that way anymore. And I feel really lucky because it just happened naturally like years ago. And yet I can still find myself rooting against players. And although things have changed, obviously, with making videos and whatnot, but like, that's just part of sports. You're going to root against. You want to see Patrick Mahomes lose. There were lots of people who were watching that Super Bowl last year, and they wanted the Chiefs to lose, not the Eagles to win. That's part of the enjoyment of sports. That's the way it goes. I still remember Romo on the ground with the fumbled snap and is like, looking down or whatever. It's like that image is like burned into my brain. And I used to laugh at it when I was younger. I used to laugh at him, like, you lost, And now I look at it and go, oh man, that was a really rough moment in that guy's life, And now the way I justify it is like, well, he's living a pretty good life. He's making a gajillion dollars. That's what you sign up for. And in a way, that's what Mahomes also signs up for. You tore your ACL, and it is a bummer. It is brutal. But like, it's part of it, and it's part of it then to be able to just still talk about the Chiefs, their failures, their losses. They're well compensated for it all. And the problem, it's not a problem, but what makes me somewhat kind of like, not uneasy. I can't, those are all too strong words, but what gives me a little bit of hesitation about some of the style of conversations about this right now is the feeling that like Mahomes is just like done. Or that like we're not concerned if this guy's ever gonna walk again. And it's like, fortunately, even if it's worse than just an ACL, because obviously Nick is gonna have some inside, maybe it's an MCL as well. That's common. Sometimes you get the trifecta. I forget, it's called something, the triple something or whatever it is, where you tear your ACL, your MCL, and your meniscus. And I tore my meniscus and I tore my ACL or MCL. I was meaning to look it up, but it wasn't bad enough where I then needed surgery, because you have different grades of tears. And I needed surgery for my meniscus, but not my MCL. The fact that I don't even remember if it was the MCL or ACL is just goes to show you that like I didn't need surgery on it. So like it wasn't really on my radar. Whereas if I needed surgery, I would remember, oh yeah, it was my MCL, etc., etc. And so that might be the case for him, potentially. Who really knows? We'll obviously find out more information. I mean, the fact that he got an MRI, though, and that it's not, the other information isn't fully there, that then makes me think of, like, maybe he also had a slight tear or a sprain, which is also kind of technically a tear that, like, that would have shown up in the MRI. If he also tore his meniscus, for instance, they would know, oh, he tore his ACL and his meniscus. And it wouldn't have just came out, it was his ACL. Now, if they did some sort of manual test where they like take your knee and they move it in this direction and that direction, and they're like, okay, you tore your ACL, then they can't tell that maybe the meniscus was also torn as well or something like that. Then I can see that. But like, so I don't know, unless there's just some other thing where they're just kind of like, what is that? So it's definitely kind of a wait and see. But I just think in this moment, it should be optimism. It should be sadness. It should be a bummer. You don't ever want to see something like this happen, no doubt about it. But I just have confidence in Mahomes being able to recover, the medical treatment that he's going to get. And until proven otherwise, I'm just not going to treat it as just like, oh gosh, this guy may never be the same ever again. I'm just not going to look at it through that lens until proven otherwise. People said that about Dak Prescott with just his hamstring surgery, because they're like, oh my God, like his hamstring, and look at his age, he's never going to be the same. And it's just like, he looks great. So you just, and now, unfortunately, some of these older quarterbacks who have gotten injured, like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers were like, well, they're old. Yeah, they tore their Achilles, and so we're like, but like they're old. We don't, it's not quite the same. But Mahomes is older. He's not 24. He is 30. So it's just there's just too many unknowns right now. There's just too many unknowns. And like I said before this even happened, I was like, Mahomes is too smart of a player, especially as long as he also has Andy Reid with him. And listen, he'll always have Andy Reid with him, even when Andy Reid retires. Like, they will talk until the end of days, and Andy Reid will always be there to be like, hey, you're doing this wrong. And listen, you got to, you're getting older. You got to develop this you got to make sure about, like, so they'll always have that relationship. But like, Mahomes is too determined and too great of a player where even if he had to adapt his game, he would be able to do so. And comparing Tom Brady to Mahomes in terms of like style of play, post ACL, that's all useless. It really is. Not only because of their style of play, but because they're two completely different people. And their bodies heal completely differently. Yes, they are in the tier of elite athletes, so their bodies are going to heal light years better than any other average. That's what my physical therapist and my surgeons would always say. Stop comparing yourself to a professional athlete. You don't have their genetics. You do not heal like they heal. But even the best of them, and this is why I always reference, and I referenced this yesterday, and I'll continue to reference it because it's a quote that I actually really hold dear to me because I've been injured so many times and had so many surgeries. Travis Kelce, I've been injured. I've had like 10 surgeries, and not a day goes by that I don't feel every single one of them. And that just is what it is. I grew up, my body was always in pain, and my dad would always be like, you just got the body of an athlete. And I used to wear like a badge of honor. I'm like, yeah, I'm an athlete. My body's always in pain. That's just the way it goes. And it's just like, it feels kind of okay when you're younger, but then as you get older, you're kind of like, well, kind of wish this wasn't the case. So I feel my clavicle broken right now as I talk to you because it never healed. Like literally as I'm going on this and tensing my body, I'm like, yeah, I feel that my clavicle is in two pieces. When I record a lot and I'm sitting down, I feel my knee that's had 3 surgeries. I feel my broken finger that I broke playing football a million years ago. My broken thumb, not my broken thumb, but definitely my broken finger. And so you just don't know. But until proven otherwise, I'm going to be incredibly optimistic. So I will say, if you're one of those people rooting against the Kansas City Chiefs, I think it's still okay to feel okay about it, to celebrate it, to do it, to treat it as you would have if they just lost straight up, even though Mahomes got injured. I just think it's a real difference that if Mahomes just got injured and they were like, oh, now the season's over because he got injured, when to me it didn't necessarily feel that way. But also obviously not, dancing on Mahomes' injury either, as that obviously isn't quite right. But I don't think that's what the vast majority of people are doing. I've only seen a few comments here and there, and I've actually removed them. I don't really delete comments. Usually YouTube does a pretty good job of filtering any of the aggressive comments, but I did see a handful of, not a handful, but a couple comments that people were saying things. I was just like, all right, we don't need this right now. But yeah, just a bummer. There's no other way to put it, but as weird as it sounds to say, it just is what it is. And, it just is what it is. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about everything, honestly? Patrick Mahomes' injury, the Kansas City Chiefs' downfall. This will probably be the main Kansas City Chiefs video that I make today. I'm sure they'll probably have another video where they're talking more about the Chiefs and what they need to do. I just think there's more interesting topics right now about what's been happening around the NFL, so I'll probably just keep this, maybe talk more about it tomorrow or something like that, but I really do just want to focus on a lot of the other interesting stories, and again, you got to just keep on keeping on, right? The Chiefs are not in the playoffs, Mahomes are not in the playoffs, and you kind of have to just focus on who is, just how they do in the middle of the game. Once someone goes down, it's, yeah, this is a bummer, this guy's getting taken to the hospital, but we're not stopping the game, we're playing, let's go. The show must go on. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.